Welcome to Design Faster, Think Deeper, AI workflows built for real L&D work. I'm Susan Harrell. It's my pleasure to produce and present these webinars for you through Neovation Corporation. If you are meeting us for the first time, we are a learning and development company. We have hardware like Smarter You, AutoLearn, working on a new product called Joy Suite and other tools coming out this year. We also have a custom learning division that can help you with all of your course building needs and many other services to assist you in improving your course delivery and course production. We've been around for over 10 years, have hundreds of clients all around the world, and we are happy to share our knowledge with you in webinars like this one every month. Some housekeeping, this webinar is being recorded and we will be sending out the recording as well as some goodies after the session. There may be a few goodies within the session as well for you. So watch for that coming by email once we get the webinar recording edited and packaged for you to be able to watch at home or in the office. There will also be a survey that will pop up at the end of the session. Please take the minute or two to fill out that survey. The information you give us really helps us with our programming. It tells our presenters how well they communicated their ideas. Also, you can give us some ideas on what you would like to see next in webinars from Neovation. So I think that's all of it for housekeeping. So Adam, I am going to stop sharing so you can scoop up the screen and let's get started. It's my pleasure to introduce Jennifer Bell and Adam Lamb. Jennifer is the head of our custom learning division and Adam is one of project managers and pod leaders there. They bring years of expertise to the conversation and look forward to sharing some wisdom with you today. So I'm stopping the share. Adam, over to you. Thank you so much for putting this together for our audience today.
Great, thanks
Thank
so
you
much.
for that introduction, Susan. Really appreciate it. That was great, and we are really excited to be here. So thank you, everyone who took some time to join us today. We really do encourage questions, so please put them in the chat, and we'll try to cover them as best we can as we go. But if there's something that we don't cover, we'll make note of it and then try to cover it at the end. As Susan mentioned, don't worry about taking notes. We'll follow up, and you'll get some goodies at the end of the transcript or at the end of the webinar. But if something also resonates with you, please use reactions. We'd love to know the kinds of things that are really landing. So with that, let's jump right in. Speed, which is the promise of AI, without quality isn't a win. It actually introduces risk to a project. And people are really excited to have the opportunity to leverage AI. We live in hope that it will fulfill the promise of ease and efficiency. And there's pressures for responsible use, for identifying hallucinations, for ensuring value in the end product that's put together. And frankly, we need improved tools because projects are coming faster. There's more of them. They have tighter timelines. And there is this expectation that is being set by the understanding that AI just makes everything easier. So the challenge is really finding that strategic workflow and practical ways to leverage the tools to make L&D projects easier and faster while ensuring that the final result is something that you want to put your name on, and will deliver the results that you actually need. So with that, let's start with a question. And we've gone low tech with these, so you can just put a number or your comment directly into the chat. But what do you see as the biggest challenge in leveraging AI tools as a standard in your L&D workflows? Data protection, yeah, for sure. An important one. Quality, quality. Which tools? Yeah, AI versus humans. Lots of quality questions coming through here, which definitely resonates. Yeah, I think in some cases all of these can be true, but definitely seeing the quality thing come through. And I think that's something that today is particularly focused on helping to address. Okay, so what is today? Today is not look at what AI can do, highlight reel. We're really focusing on a practical co-design workflow that's going to allow you to leverage tools and also control the quality of the outcome. So it's supposed to be a well-constructed workflow, and it isn't just about well-written prompts. It's about thinking about your use of AI and a workflow that drives efficiency, accuracy, and quality. So within that, the expert controls the standards that can be reused for multiple projects and drive consistency. The AI works as your intern to draft specific assets that you need, and the expert checks to ensure, review, shape, and refine those outputs before anything gets out to external stakeholders. So, with the webinar today, we're setting the stage as a fake organization, and it represents a real world situation that many organizations face. So, Adam, who we're still calling Adam, is playing the role of an instructional designer at this fake company called Maple and Steel Consulting, MSC. So, they're a mid-sized professional services firm. They employ about 400 people. They're fast growing. They feel the pain of inconsistency, and HR team handles the high level onboarding, but leaders deliver individual new hire enablement for specific roles. So that means that knowledge is really in documents and inboxes and people's heads, which I'm sure sounds really familiar to people that are on this call. So in our MSC environment, Adam just got an email from a delivery director. And in summary, it basically says, hey, we need something for new project managers by Friday. Can you make it happen? And that situation should also sound familiar because it happens every day. People have a need, they have limited timelines, and it's really on the shoulders of learning and development team to figure out how to say yes. So, Adam, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Great, thanks, Jen. All right, so here's what I'm working with. I've got a two-page project playbook, which is really more of a brain dump, a client kickoff checklist in a Google Doc, a vague timeline, and 6 humans who need to stop making some mistakes. That's not a bad brief. This is actually a pretty normal one. And this is exactly where AI is going to help me to move fast without skipping the thinking. All right. Quick bit of context before I dig in. This is Claude, a conversational AI from Anthropic. If your team is already using tools such as ChatGPT, Google Gemini, or Microsoft Copilot, you're in familiar territory. These tools all work in similar ways. In the prompts and process I'm showing you here today, will translate cleanly across any of them. I'm using Claude for this first stretch for two specific reasons. One, projects, the way that you can organize content in chats in Claude, allows me to hold all my context, the company profile, the source documents, the design constraints in one persistent workspace. In the split pane view, lets me watch the draft evolve right next to my prompts. That matters for a live demo, and it matters even more for the iterative design work you're about to see. Now, before I write a single prompt, notice that I've already done a lot of the setup already. I created the project, and everything the AI needs to do its job is right here. And if we look inside the project instructions, it tells the AI who MSC is, what their values are, what their tone is, and their culture. I've defined the audience, the design constraints, and the learning objective. That objective is the line I want to highlight. The original brief didn't include one. I wrote it based on the source material and Sarah's intent. That's a design decision, not an AI decision. I uploaded Sarah's 2 documents as source material. The AI draws from these, not from the internet. And you can see I've already generated 2 drafts. You can see these here in the files. a storyboard, and a scenario before the session. We'll focus our time on the part that matters, reviewing and editing those outputs. So this process is reusable. Next time MSC sends a brief, the workspace is ready. Later, I'll switch to Notebook LM, another AI tool, to show you the same approach. The principle is the same. Front load your context so every prompt starts from a shared foundation. Okay, so that's the setup. Now, let's see what it does with that. Jen, before I show the storyboard, I want to flag something for the leaders in the room.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving from setup and reusable constraints into content creation is actually a critical step when working with AI because it's not actually an expert at anything, even though it can very convincingly portray one. So think of AI more as a helpful intern that doesn't have any of the context, none of the history, none of the expertise that the human does. And watch as I pass it back to Adam because he's going to show how he leverages the AI and what he does or doesn't accept. And that's where the value of the expertise of you and your team live and are a non-negotiable step in the process. So, Adam, back to you for that.
Thanks, Jen. Before I show you the draft, here's why I'm building a storyboard first. A storyboard is the fastest way to get alignment with your stakeholders. It's cheaper to rearrange screens in an outline than to rebuild a finished module. And for your team, having a repeatable storyboard workflow means every designer starts from the same foundation, even if they have different levels of experience. That consistency matters at scale. So here's the prompt that I used to generate the storyboard. Before I show you the output, I want to walk you through what's in it because the way you structure a prompt makes a real difference in what you get back. The first four are the mechanics. I'm telling it what to use, in this case, the playbook and the checklist, what to build, a storyboard outline, how to format it, so screen title, type, content points, and visual notes, and the constraints, 20 to 30 minutes, self-paced. Those are the guardrails, but these last two are where the design thinking lives. Tone, plain spoken, action-oriented, friendly, but firm. The project already holds MSC's voice guidelines, but reinforcing it in the prompt keeps the output on brand. This is the line that prevents the AI from defaulting to generic corporate speak. And then we have the objective, and this is the most important line of the entire prompt. After completing this module, new PMs will be able to independently prepare for and lead their first client kickoff meeting using MSC's standard process. It came from me, not the brief. Sarah's email didn't include one. I wrote it, and it is based on the source material and her intent. If you take one thing from this prompt, it's this. The AI doesn't set the objective, you do. So that's the anatomy. Inputs, task, structure, constraints, tone, and objective. The detailed templates are going to be included in the toolkit goodies that we'll be including after this session. Now, let me show you what came back. So here's the prompt I used to load the draft, and here's what came back. 17 screens organized around 3 phases of a kickoff. Before the meeting, during the meeting, and after. The AI drew from the playbook and the checklist to build the content. A quick note before I dig in. Claude takes about a minute to generate each of these artifacts, so I've pre-run each prompt as a separate chat. You'll see me move between different tabs as we go. That way we can focus on the design thinking, not the loading spinner. So let me read through this. As I scroll, do the same thing I'm doing. Look for what you'd keep and what you'd change. See if you spot what I spot. Okay, so the overall sequence makes sense. It follows the natural flow of a kickoff, prepare, run the meeting, and follow up. That's what I wanted. The check-in question here is solid. It forces the learner to actually think about what they do, not just read and click next. Now this screen, the evolution of MSC's delivery framework. This is a history lesson. The AI included it because the source material mentions how the methodology developed over time. But here's my design question. Does a new PM need to know the origin story on day one? I don't think so. They need to know what to do. So this is filler. I'm cutting it. And here's the prompt that I'd use. So I'm pasting in the prompt into Claude's chat, asking it to remove that section. So let me jump to the tab where this prompt has already been run. As you can see, it's gone. That was an editorial decision that the AI can't make for you. It generated content that looked plausible, but doesn't serve the objective. Your designers need to make that call. Okay, so now read this one with me. The sorry, bear with me here. Mm, Here we go. Okay, so the MSC client kickoff meeting is a structured 60-minute engagement designed to establish stakeholder alignment across 5 critical dimensions. Well, that doesn't sound like MSC. Remember, MSC's tone is friendly but firm, not corporate policy manual. A new PM reading this would think they walked into a different company. So let me fix that. Again, I'm going to paste in a pre-written prompt, and I'm going to ask Claude to rewrite this. Now let's jump to this tab where this prompt has already been run. Okay, much better. There we go. It's marked as revised. Now, this sounds like someone at MSC actually wrote it. Tone is the subtlest and most common AI miss. Every person in this virtual room has seen AI output that's technically correct, but sounds like it was written by a different company. Catching that is a human skill. So there's more that I'd probably like to do here. I'd probably split up that dense prep screen into 2, rethink the quiz at the end, but the pattern is the point. I didn't just hit accept all. I read it like an instructional designer. Does this serve the objective? Does this match the audience? Does this sound like MSC? Where the answer was no, I fixed it. AI drafts, you shape. So, Jen, what should leaders be looking for when their team brings them a draft like this?
The key thing is to ensure that it's got the human voice within it, um, that we are doing the right checks with our review checklist to make sure that everything is accurate and complete. Um, so you can create for yourself a really simple to use review checklist to make sure that you're checking on the key components. Is everything in service of the outcomes? Is it going to achieve the actual goals that you were trying to get to? Is it actually accurate? Because don't forget, AI will confidently make up facts and it will state them, even providing citations and confidently telling you that they're accurate. Is the tone appropriate? Are you presenting it in the right way based off of the material? It's going to be different tone that's required depending on the type of content that you're presenting. Is it safety content? Is it awareness? Is it information about the organization? Or is it things like soft skills? They all require a specific touch. And then, of course, is the flow actually making it possible for learners to focus on what it is that they need to know in order to be successful, rather than trying to figure out how to navigate the material to pick out what it means for them for what it is that they need to do. And finally, does the content actually support all of learners' needs? Is it accessible? Can they see themselves in the content? Does it work for what they need to do within their roles? So let's ask another question. What is your review process before AI generated training content goes to a stakeholder? So you've drafted it and now it's ready for that stakeholder subject matter expert to have a review.
So, Jen, just to jump in, while people are answering this poll, there was a question in the chat that I think Adam could answer on how do you convey precise tone to an AI tool?
That's a great question, Lucy. So um, you basically tell it just like you would to a human that was writing your content. If your company happens to have a standard writing guide, providing that directly to the AI is often very helpful. But what I find most helpful often is defining who the audience is. So telling them, not just the tone, but also like who's going to be on who the receiving end of that content. AI has gotten a lot better at adjusting itself based off of the audience that the content is intended for. So for example, if you know that your audience is going to be highly technical, highly educated, providing them that context can be very helpful versus, let's say, you were creating something for high school students. The age and demographics, uh, education level, and how they're going to be accessing that content all really can feed into the tone that's used by the AI.
Thanks for that, Adam. We're getting a lot of folks that are commenting number two, that it's reviewed but don't have a standard checklist. I really encourage everyone to create something as a standard checklist. And the deeper that you get into AI, the more that you can actually use that because pro tip, you could actually create some prompts to have AI do self-checks of its own work and create some validation. So we're not covering that in this webinar, but that kind of consistency ensures that you're checking for everything. So Adam's not done yet. He's going to take the same source material and show you two more outputs, a scenario as well as a job aid, because the real efficiency gain isn't from creating one thing, it's from reusing the same context across multiple outputs. So Adam, back to you for that.
Thanks, Jen. So this is where the real time savings show up. Most designers treat every deliverable as a separate project, separate setup, separate context gathering. But if you've already done the work of organizing your source material and defining your audience, you should be able to reuse that across every output from the same brief. That's what you're about to see. So let's take a look at what Claude generated for the scenario seed. Okay, same project, same context. I didn't re-upload anything or re-explained who MSC is. For this one, I asked for a decision-based scenario, a seed I can react to and build on. Same prompt anatomy as the storyboard. A detailed version of this will be included in the toolkit that we provide. So here's what I got. A realistic setup, 3 decision points, multiple options for each, and feedback that explains the trade-off. So let's review it. So the setup is solid. It's a new PM, first kickoff. The client wants to skip intake and jump straight to execution. That's realistic. I've seen that happen. I'm sure many of you have as well. Decision points 2 and 3, the scope creep scenario and the missing stakeholder. These both work, and the options have real trade-offs. But let's take a look at decision point 1 here, specifically option C. No, we can't skip phases. MSC has a standard process and we need to follow it. Nobody would pick that. It reads like a cartoon villain of a PM. When one option is obviously wrong, the exercise feels like a test with the right answer instead of a real judgment call. That's not good scenario design. I want option C to be a reasonable move that just has different trade-offs, something a real PM might do, especially someone who's new and nervous about getting the process wrong. So here's what I asked Claude to do. I gave it this prompt that I've pre-written and asked it to reformat that scenario appropriately. So let's take a look at the revised version. Okay, so now all 3 options are defensible. That's the test for any scenario you build. Could a reasonable person pick each option for a defensible reason? If one option is a throwaway, your learners, they're going to see through it. All right, so one more design note. The client in this scenario isn't a villain. He's a reasonable person with a different priority. That's MSC's value in action. Assume good intent. Demand clear intent. Make the characters feel real. Same project, same context, same source docs. I just asked a different question. That's the reuse pattern. One brief, one workspace, multiple outputs. Think about the last project that landed on your team's desk. How many of these could you have had in draft form by the end of the day? Okay, so now I'm going to do something you might not expect. I'm switching tools entirely. I know, crazy. This is Google Notebook LM. Some of you may be familiar with it. Same source documents you see over here on the left. Different platform. I want you to see that this workflow isn't locked to any one tool. Notebook LM only generates from your uploaded sources, so no hallucinated content, no generic filler. That's one of Notebook LM's greatest strengths. And what you see over here on the right is the Studio panel. This is where you turn those sources on the left into deliverables, such as reports and slide decks, audio and video overviews, and more. For a job aid, I want to use the reports tool. So if I click on that, Notebook LM gives you some suggested formats based on your sources. But I'm going to write my own prompt to get exactly the structure that I want. So what I can do here under format is create my own, and I can paste in a pre-written prompt that I know that works well. So you can see here, this is the same prompt structure we've been using all along. Specific task, clear format, tone guidance, and a constraint to keep the bullets actionable. I can submit this, but since these reports take a few minutes to generate, I've already run this before the session. So let me show you what came back. So here's the job aid. 3 phases, before, during, and after. Each section has specific scannable bullets pulled directly from the source contents. So this is a performance support tool. not a learning experience. The design intent is different. It's meant to be used on the job, not in a course. That distinction matters, and it's one that I made, not the AI. In a real workflow, I'd sharpen a few bullets, add a footer pointing to the playbook, and then copy this into a document for stakeholder review. But the structure is solid, and it only took about a couple minutes to generate. Okay, so here's a quick bonus. Same notebook, same sources, different studio tool. This is the infographic format. I gave Notebook LM the same job aid brief and asked it to generate a visual version. 30 seconds prompting, same three-phase structure, but now it's something a PM could pin above their desk or drop into a Slack channel. Same content, different intent. The report is for thorough reference. The infographic is for at-a-glance recall. Choosing the right format is a design decision, and it's one that you make based on how your learner will actually use it. So 3 outputs from one brief, one of them delivered in 2 formats. Storyboard, scenario seed, job aid as a reference doc, and a visual. 2 tools, same workflow. None of them are finished, but all of them are reactable. I've got something I can put in front of Sarah or any of the other stakeholders today instead of staring at a blank page until Wednesday. Okay, Jen, I'm going to hand it back to you because the question I know on the leaders in the audience's mind, they're asking themselves right now is, great, but how do I actually roll this out to my team?
Yeah, that's a great question. So working with leading a team, there's things that we've learned as an organization, and we know that designers who do the best with AI aren't really just the ones that are the best at prompting. They're the ones that already have a strong design instincts and understand AI gives them a faster starting point, not the full answer. So your job as a leader is to protect that instinct and give them the tools that enable them to move faster. So with that, create a system that provides concrete executable strategies and tools that people can use. Start with reusable assets. There are things that can be fed into AI tools for a multitude of different projects and help drive better alignment and consistency. Focus on assets that are the most needed and have the biggest impact on your workflows. So don't try to create everything all at once. Start somewhere and then add to your library. And speaking of libraries, create a prompt library. It can be as simple as a shared document, but create something that allows everyone to be able to leverage and contribute. And remember that just like LLM tools themselves, those are going to need to continually evolve. Create an SOP, a standard operating process that includes a review checklist to support your team in working with the large language models, with spotting hallucinations, and ensuring that they're bringing that human expertise to everything that they do. With that, also include clarity on when to involve subject matter experts and other stakeholders into the review and create predictable workflows that support everyone involved in the project and encourage experimentation. There's such value in failing fast, in trying something and identifying it, whether it worked or didn't work, and focus on progress over perfection. Provide feedback to help with continuous improvement, but encourage trying. And you don't need to create a 40-page governance document for this. A simple one-pager with key workflows is a great place to start. So you saw Adam, he worked with Claude and he worked with Notebook. He built storyboards and scenarios in one tool and then switched over to Notebook for job aids. So the outputs were good in both. So here's what I want you to think about for your teams. If you're already using Google Workspace and you want tight integration, the ability to export to Docs or Workplace, then Gemini is a natural fit. You saw how gems can work with like a reusable custom assistant. If your team wants a dedicated design workplace and persistent controls across conversations, then Claude projects or artifacts are strong for that iterative refinement work. If you're already using ChatGPT, the same workflows really apply, just with different features and context management. So the point isn't agonizing over finding the exact right tool. The point is the workflow. Front load the context, prompt with structure, review with intent. It'll work with any of them. You'll get different results, sure, but even within the same LLM tool, you could put the same project in at different times and you'll probably get slightly different results. Sometimes better, sometimes not as good. So just pick a tool that your team will actually use and start standardizing around that. So we promised we'd leave you with things that you can actually use. So here's what they're going to be. So we've got our Claude project template, our prompt starter pack with prompting anatomy reference, a scenario design worksheet, and an AI output review checklist with the checkpoints. And bonus, if you stay to the end, you're going to get something today and not have to wait until we send it out later. So just to wrap up, AI doesn't replace you or any of your team. It gives them a head start, and your job is to make sure that head start is pointed in the right direction. So define the use cases, give your team good prompts, build in the human checkpoints, and then let them do what they do best, which is designing training that actually changes how people work. Adam, was there anything that you wanted to add?
Just this. So Monday morning, you're going to open your inbox. There's going to be a brief that's a little vague, a little urgent, a little imperfect. That used to be the hard part of your day, but starting now, it's going to be the easy part because you know where to start and you know what looks good when it comes back. So take what you learned here today, take the toolkit that we're giving you, and go and build. Have fun.
And if you need a little bit of help, you know the value of your team, you know what you want to do, expertise and resources sometimes can feel really challenging to get. So, our team specializes in creating e-learning solutions that are completely tailored to your needs, whether you need a quick, straightforward course or something complex, interactive as a learner experience. We work with clients that use multiple LMS platforms and different published outputs. And we have a large team of dedicated specialists that include project managers that can guide you every step of the way, instructional designers who turn knowledge into engaging narratives, e-learner designers that bring your content to life with cutting-edge tools, and top-notch quality assurance, making sure that everything is flawless before it goes live. So if you bring the subject matter expertise, we can bring everything else. So whether you just need a little bit of guidance, help with some design, maybe a storyline template even, or full project support, we've got you covered. So you can reach out to us, and we also offer free consulting. So if you need just a little bit of time and some recommendations for your next project, we'd be happy to provide that for you as a free consulting session. So, Susan, back over to you.
Well, actually, I'm going to, excuse me, I'm going to ask Adam to answer a couple questions that I've sent him backstage
Ah,
because
great.
Yes.
the answers are within your deck.
Yeah. Shrita, you were asking about the sample prompts, specifically in Notebook LM. So a lot of times with Notebook LM, you can just use the sample options that are available directly in Notebook LM. What I find is that they generally give pretty good results. So for example, here we've got an audio overview, and I can select deep dive, brief, critique, or in debate, select the length, and I can also give it some specific direction on what I'd like it to do. So it really depends on what you're trying try to get out of the content. What I like to do is start with one of the base options as a starting point, and then iterate from there. And this is pretty much my approach to using any AI tool is just um, never stop iterating. Don't accept the first thing that it gives you as being the end result. Because, a lot of times what I find is it will get me, even 75% of the way there. But where the magic happens is leveraging my own expertise and experience and telling the AI what refinements, what little tweaks and adjustments I wanted to make to make it the best possible content and experience. Because a lot of times the AI, it needs that help. So me as the human in the middle, I need to help it along the way. But like I said, we'll be including some good prompts in our prompt pack.
I'd like to add to that as well. With different LLM tools between Chat, Notebook, Gemini, Claude, they're always coming up with new features and seem to constantly have releases where they also compete with one another. So you'll see one that does improvements on image generation, and then another one of the tools will have a new release that has some image generation. So while there's some specific things that Notebook LM has as built-in, ready-to-go tools that make it easier to use, such as generating a PowerPoint deck, other tools are able to create those similar assets. You just may need to spend a little bit more time experimenting with your prompting to figure out how to get it to do it if it's not a built-in, ready-to-go tool.
Yes, and there was a question in the Q&A about duplicating some of Notebook LM's capabilities in other tools like ChatGPT. Um, it the the answer is, and Jen sort of alluded to this, is that the tools are always evolving. So right now, ChatGPT has a lot of strengths. Um, Media generation is not, I would argue, one of its stronger ones. So in its latest image model, it can produce some pretty good quality images. And in fact, in the latest one, where I'm seeing that it's able to do infographics and text, quite well. Not quite at the level that I would consider that Notebook LM is capable of doing, but it's certainly getting there. Um, Beyond that, it's not really designed for creating video overviews and other rich media types. OpenAI just recently sunsetted their video generation tool, Sora. I would imagine they will eventually come out with another one, but if you're looking for media generation from OpenAI, you need to work not in their front end tool, but their sort of back end service, which requires a bit more of a technical level of expertise where you're almost effectively coding with it. So it can do more, but it requires a greater level of technical proficiency and investment to make that happen.
That's
Great.
great. We had a comment as well about like using AI to speed up tasks, but feel conflicted about ecological impact, which affects all of us, not just one person. And brain turning to mush. Anyone else feel that way? I would say there's lots of people that feel that way about AI. When it comes to ecological, but still wanting to use it, there are some things that you can consider. The better planned that you are with how it is that you're asking and which options you're leveraging within certain tools. Like, for example, tools will have different versions within them that you can select, and some of them consume more what's called tokens, which is the consuming unit for the LLM doing the work in very simple terms. And some of them consume a lot more. So there's a scale. So if you know what tool it is that you're using and how it leverages that, then you're able to exercise more control over your usage while you're using AI. So think about your processes, create a plan. The less the less iteration you do, and the more you can reduce that by having really solid prompts and processes, the more you can mitigate that kind of extraneous use that you might want to have with AI. And brain turning to mush, I mean, yeah, that's certainly a thing. I think it's really about engaging your human brain for that critical thought and analysis, not giving up the driver's seat to AI. As we've chatted about today, it's all about the human being in the driver's seat and being in control and treating AI kind of like a dumb intern that, can do the thing that you asked it to do, provided that you give it the specific explicit information and context that it needs to execute it. But it's really up to you to be the intelligent, purposeful leader of that conversation. Adam, anything you wanted to add on that one?
Now, I think that's all great points. And if you're looking for a more traditional human analogy for the impact that you're having with AI, think of it. If you're giving a task to a team, there are things that you can do if you're giving these to a set of humans to do that will drive how long it takes them to do that task, how challenging it will be for them. So and the same thing applies to AI. Giving them good source content, making your instructions clear and direct, making what the outcomes that you're looking for, very, very explicit, giving good examples of what good looks like to your mind, giving those same things to a set of humans impacts how long and how difficult it will be for them to do that task. And the same thing effectively applies to AI. If you set it up for success, it's going to take less time, i.e. less tokens, i.e. less water consumption to perform that task. And keeping your brain from turning to mush, as somebody who pretty much lives, breathes, and eats AI now and has been in this industry for about 26 years now, um, I'm constantly using all the AI tools at my disposal, but I'm always looking at everything that it's giving me critically through the lens of my experience and instructing it on what to do and how to do it better and give me what I want. Not just accepting what it gives me on the first draft. Because if I did do that, yeah, my brain would just turn to mush because I'd literally stop doing my job and stop doing the thing that makes me valuable. So, it's all about practicing that and keeping that in mind as you're using this just another tool in our arsenal.
I hope that you all got what you came for, and we look forward to seeing you again. So again, watch for the survey as it pops up. Thank you so much for joining us today with the Demystify Neovation webinar series.